Hello everyone. So this video is about coagulation of blood. So there are various clotting mechanism in our body which basically arrest the free flowing blood whenever there is injury to vessel. Otherwise we'll lose all blood, right? Which can lead to hypovolemia and various anemic conditions. Fine. So there are various clotting mechanisms. So we'll be seeing in this video all those mechanisms which include first is vascular spasm, then platelet plug formation, then coagulation, which include extrinsic intrinsic pathway, ultimately thrombin formation and then fibrin formation. Right, we'll see these how basically this process occur. If you see this image, injury to blood vessel occur which lead to platelet accumulation to the injury site, which further lead to fibrin formation, and that is called permanent clot formation, right? So that is overview of the video. Now let's start. So hemostasis or blood clotting or blood coagulation is important process which prevent excessive bleeding when blood vessel is injured. If you can see the same three step here, vascular spasm, okay, so vasoconstriction occur, permanent plug formation and blood clotting. Okay, now let's see. So vascular spasm, if we see, this is blood vessel first response to injury. So smooth muscle cells are controlled by vascular endothelium because endothelium release some signals or mediators which control contractile property of smooth muscle, leads to vasoconstriction so that we can prevent the loss of blood. Second step is platelet plug formation, in which platelet adhere to damaged endothelium to form a temporary plug, which is called primary hemostasis. Then ultimately the last and third step is clot formation, in which various clotting factors are activated, okay, leads to series of events, cascade of coagulation cascade, which lead to formation of fibrin ultimately, and that's called secondary hemostasis. Now let's see how basically temporary plug is formed so that we can see the permanent plug formation, right? So for the temporary plug, it's role of platelet basically, which is playing role here. So whenever there is injury to endothelium, the cells are basically exposed to collagen below, right? Which lead to secretion of one factor, which is VWF, von Willebrand factor, which attaches the platelet to the collagen or to the endothelium. That is called platelet adhesion. Adhering platelet lead to release of some mediators, fibrinogen, ADP, von Willebrand factor. Okay, so these mediator release, this phase is called activation. Okay, because of these mediators, the platelets are able to adhere or attaches other free flowing platelets to the area and with a very high speed, so that huge number of platelets, they can adhere to the tissue, injured tissue, right? So this is called aggregation. So via these three steps, adhere and then activate, release mediators, and which leads to more aggregation. So ultimately they are able to form a temporary plug. Fine. So this way temporary plug is formed. Next is blood coagulation. So where two pathways blood coagulation is there. One is intrinsic and one is extrinsic pathway. Okay, we'll see in detail those pathways. So intrinsic pathway is activated when within the blood vessels there are number of cells or platelets which basically come in contact with negatively charged surface. Okay, so either collagen or surface contact. Then there is intrinsic pathway which is activated. But if the complete blood vessel is injured and the damaged cell membrane and different tissue fluid come in contact with blood, then extrinsic pathway is activated. Okay, so within blood vessels, if they are exposed to surface or collagen, the blood is exposed to surface or collagen, then intrinsic pathway. And if it's injured completely and blood come in contact with, there are damaged cell membranes and other tissue fluids, then extrinsic pathway activated. Okay, so the blood coagulation, if we talk about, there are number of inactive clotting factors which are present in our blood. You can see the list. Okay, so these are different clotting factors which are circulating in blood, free flowing blood, in inactive form. So they need to be activated whenever blood clotting occur. Okay, so we have to see now what are different extrinsic and intrinsic pathway, which factors play role in these pathways, and how ultimately fibrin is formed. That's what the topic of discussion is there. Now let's see how basically via extrinsic and intrinsic pathway ultimately fibrin is formed. Okay, so this is the coagulation cascade which we were talking about. Here, intrinsic pathway, if we talk about, so when blood come in contact with surface, right? So if it happens, the factor 12 is activated, which further activate factor 11. Okay, A is denoting activating form of that factor. So 11 is activated in presence of K. Okay, so as the 11 is activated, 11 clotting factor, which lead to ninth activation of factor 9, which ultimately lead to activation of factor 10. Fine. So here this is the common pathway where both the pathway combine. On the other hand, extrinsic pathway, when it is completely, the blood vessels are completely injured and tissue factor come in contact with blood. Tissue factor is nothing but factor 3, which activate factor 7. So factor 7 activate factor 10. So at pathway both the pathway combine. Factor 10 is basically formation, it's basically prothrombinase, which basically lyse the prothrombin and form thrombin. Thrombin, which is ultimately activating fibrinogen, convert it into fibrin. Okay, so fibrin threads are formed and form fibrin clot in presence of factor 13. Okay, so this is coagulation cascade basically, where different clotting factors, they take part to form fibrin and ultimately the permanent clot. The same pathway is shown to remember in this way. So that you can remember intrinsic pathway, that factor 12, 11, 9 and 10. And here factor 3, which is tissue factor, and 7 and then 10. Okay, then thrombin is formed and then fibrin is formed. Just to remember, I have used this slide. If we see role of vitamin K is necessary factor for blood coagulation because it plays role as cofactor in synthesis of clotting factor 2, 7, 9 and 10. And it's necessary for synthesis of some anticoagulants which are normally present in our blood, protein C and S and protein Z. Okay, that's why even in vitamin K deficiency we can have coagulation disorders. It's not always some platelets or clotting factor deficiency. Instead, vitamin K also play a role. Now, if we talk about blood coagulation, we should at least know some applied aspect of coagulation. So coagulation disorders are disruption in body's ability to control blood clotting. Coagulation disorders can result in hemorrhage, or there can be thrombosis formation which can lead to different infarctions. It can be cerebral or myocardial infarctions, right? So example of coagulation disorders are, the major example are hemophilia A and B. Hemophilia A is related to factor 8 deficiency, B is related to factor 9 deficiency. And thrombocytopenia, in which we have decreased amount of platelet less than 50,000, which can lead to bleeding disorders like purpura. Okay, which is nothing but damage of peripheral blood vessels, lead to red rashes. Fine. So hemophilia and thrombocytopenic purpura. Okay, for example, hemophilia, this is hereditary, but if it's say acquired, it can be vitamin K deficiency disorders. So this way we can perform blood coagulation and we have some idea of blood coagulation disorders. So that's all about blood coagulation. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any query, please mail me. Thank you so much. And if you like it, please subscribe to my channel. Thanks.